Hello everyone, we're back again with our FCE class. Make sure you take out your correct book, alright? For today we're going to continue with the pronouns, alright? So open your book please to page 177, right? It should be this one. So remember I taught you a little bit of 177, right? So these are the different uses, right? So possessive, adjectives, possessive pronouns, and etc. I hope you've done the following down below. I think we've done parts of them, right? Until the last part. Alright, so let's just do a revision, okay? So for page 177, I wrote it down on the whiteboards over here. Alright, so we'll just go through it very quickly, just a revision, right? And then we will further extend this topic in the pages to come. So we'll have to finish until page 181 today. Now, just to refresh your mind, right? Pronouns, we have many kinds of pronouns. We have personal pronouns, object pronouns, etc. But for this class, we will be focusing more on the highlighted pronouns, right? So it's personal, right? And the personal pronouns are I, you, he, she, it, we, they, and again you, okay? So you is used 2 times. Why? Because in the personal pronoun, right, you can be one person, right? I am talking to one person and I tell them you should not be so loud when people are talking, right? You should have a courteous tone. And another you, right? So there's 2 yous. Another you is for this the plural form. So I can be talking to 3 people at the same time and calling them all you, right? You can all go to have a break, right? It's recess time. You can all have a break. And then underneath personal pronoun, we also have the object pronoun, and they come after the verbs. So this is very simple, right? We have S, V, and O. So S, subject, verb, and object, right? So the subject will do the action. So I will do the action, you will do the action, he or she or it will do the action, so on and so forth. And then O, the object will receive the action, right? So it's after the verb. It's after the verb. For example, I give you, right? I give you a gift. So you is the one who's receiving the gift. I am the one who's giving, all right? Very simple. And then for possessive adjectives, all right? Be careful because there are 2 types of possessive. Remember, we have possessive adjectives and possessive pronoun. Let's take a look first at the possessive adjectives, all right? So the possessive adjectives is to be followed by a noun, okay? That means there is a noun in front of the possessive adjective. So if I could put this here, okay? So to be followed by a noun. That means after the possessive adjective, we have a noun. A good example here is, right? So let's look at the possessive adjectives. My, your, his, her, its, our, your, and their. So your car, his car, her book, my book. All right, so these are how we form possessive adjectives. All right, what about possessive pronouns? Okay, possessive pronouns are not to be followed, okay, by a noun, or not followed by a noun or nouns. Okay, so possessive adjectives do not have possessive pronouns do not have nouns that follow them. Why? Because the pronoun itself will stand in for the noun, okay? So instead of you saying my car, you can say it is mine, right? It is my car in the possessive adjective. It is mine in the possessive pronoun. So mine here is my car, okay? So instead of using possessive adjective plus noun, we just use the pronoun. Easy enough, right? And then we have a mixture of both reflexive and emphatic. Now, if you don't know what these means, don't worry about that yet. We will go into that in the next page to come, all right? So let's just remember the name, all right? So it's reflexive, emphatic pronouns. Now, sometimes I'll just call it RE pronoun, okay? So RE pronoun, reflexive, emphatic pronoun. So what are the reflexive, emphatic pronoun? They are myself, yourself, himself, herself, itself, ourselves, all right, yourselves, and themselves. Now a quick point to talk about is the self part, okay? So something self, S-E-L-F, all right? The self here is reflecting, right? Reflecting whatever pronoun that comes in front, right? Or at the back of self, right? So herself, that means she, right? But reflecting herself. So it's reflecting. So she takes care of herself. What does that mean? Takes care of herself. That means that means she alone will take care of her own, right? So herself. And then when we have the plural, okay? So when we have plural, it's not self anymore, it's selves. S-E-L-V-E-S, okay? We change the F to V, and then we add E-S, okay? Themselves, okay? Yourselves. So the plural form of yourself is yourselves. The singular is yourself, okay? So there's a bigger distinction in the emphatic reflexive pronoun or reflexive emphatic pronoun, okay? All right, and then a good point to remember is that we use the article the or the after prepositions, okay? So on the, at the, with the, okay? Not possessive adjectives when we have a preposition. Usually we use this for body parts. I think we talked about this in class last week, right? So she slapped the boy on the face. Not she slapped the boy on his face, okay? Slap the boy on the face, right? Not the possessive adjective. And then for a structure with the word own, okay? When we have the word own, we can use the possessive adjective to give some emphasis, okay? We put them together, right? So she has her car, right? She has her car. But if we put the word own, she has her own car, right? We are emphasizing that this thing does belong to one person and nobody else, right? For example, let's say a whole family, right? The whole family has a car, okay? The whole family has cars. That means they all share the car. But if we put the word own, right? The whole family has their own cars. Okay? That means each and every one of them has their own car. One car belongs to one person. Another way to put this is to put the word of, right? So she's got a car of her own, right? So when we switch it around, we have to put a helping word, so of, all right? Okay. So let's go to the next page now, page 178, okay? So this one we're going to talk about the reflexive emphatic pronouns more in detail, all right? So refer to your table if you do get confused with the whiteboard, okay? So it's this one here, okay? So reflexive emphatic pronouns. We have reflexive and we have emphatic. So these two are quite distinct with each other, okay? You can tell them apart. But when we put them together, right? The reflexive emphatic, they do have another similar function, okay? Not too different, but there is some distinction. All right, so let's take a look first at the reflexive pronouns, okay? Reflexive pronouns are used after certain verbs, okay? What kinds of verbs are we going to use? Behave, burn, cut, enjoy, hurt, kill, look at, and so on and so forth. So there are many words that reflexive pronouns go with, okay? So these are just some of the examples, and most of them are of the same degree or of the same category. All right, when the subject and the object of the verb are the same, okay? What does that mean? Let me write down SVO again just to remind you guys. So SVO, right? So S is the subject who does the verb, the action, and the object is what or who receives the action or receives the verb, right? So what if I want to say that she washes she, right? But that is wrong, right? We can't say she washes she. She washes her, right? But I want to say this her. This her is the same person as she. How do I do that? She washes her can mean she washes her sister, right? She helps wash her puppy who is a girl, or she helps wash her mom, right? So what does she washes her mean, right? In order to show that this object is the same person as the subject, we have to use the reflexive, okay? Because this pronoun here reflects the subject, okay? Reflects the subject. So instead of saying she washes her, right, to make it very, very clear that she's doing it to herself, we will say she washes herself, Okay? Now let's look at the examples that they gave. They said, did you cut yourself? Okay? That means, did you accidentally do something to yourself? Okay, to make you hurt or in pain. Hurt yourself, okay? Cut yourself. They can also be used after be, feel, look, and seem to describe emotions or states. So emotions mean feelings, right? So we can use these reflexive after feelings or states. What does state mean? State means the, it's similar to feeling, right? It's the progression, okay? You can say progression of how they feel or find themselves, okay? So the example is, she hasn't been herself recently, right? So she hasn't been herself. That means she is acting very weird. So she hasn't been herself. Herself reflects to her own personality, right? Reflexive pronouns can be used after prepositions, but not after prepositions of place, okay? So what does prepositions and prepositions of place, what is their distinction, right? Prepositions of place are like on top of, right? In, through, but prepositions in general are okay, so with, right? So she is very pleased with herself, but she looked behind, sorry, she looked behind her, right? Not behind herself. So mind you, again, only some verbs, right? Only some verbs can be used with reflexive pronouns. For example, the looked behind, right? You can't say she looked behind herself. She looked behind her. Okay? All right, and then we have certain verbs, right? The certain verbs that may, right? May take up reflexive pronoun are wash, shave, dress, undress, meet, rest, relax, and so on and so forth. So we can see that these are actually true actions, right? Habitual actions that we might do every day. All right, so she woke up and dressed. We will not say she woke up herself and dressed herself, right? So she just woke up and dressed. We may use the reflexive, but in these cases we do not, okay? So this is just the case of brevity, right? Brevity means to make things quick and concise. So English has gotten rid of that, and we will only use the reflexive on the above mentioned verbs, right? And then we can also say, the little girl is washing herself, right? So wash and dress, we can use reflexive. Usually when we're talking about children, right? Children. All right, let's move on forward to the emphatic part, okay? So emphatic pronouns have the same form as reflexive pronouns, but a different meaning, okay? So herself in reflexive will also be herself in emphatic. So they are the same structure, but their use are distinct, okay? Their use are different. How so? All right, let's read on forward. They give emphasis to the noun or the fact that a certain person performs an action. All right? So whereas reflexive, right? Reflexive is the object, right? The object reflecting the noun. So she washes herself. Who is being washed? By her, herself, right? Emphatic in this case will talk about the noun, okay? Emphasis on the noun, okay? So she herself organized the feast, right? So the emphatic here, the emphasis here is the word organize. That means she did it by herself, on her own, right? So she on her own organized the feast or the party. They can also mean without help, right? So on her own, again, without help. He painted the house himself, okay? So although this follows the SVO, right? He painted the house himself, right? It looks like the SVO, but we have the actual true O here. The true object is the house, not himself. So the subject, he, verb is painted. The object is the house. He painted the house. The emphatic here is himself. That means he did it on his own without help, right? Now, a good point to note again for this table are the idioms, okay? So idioms are the connotation, okay? So these are what we usually say in different situations. So enjoy yourselves, okay? Is this a emphatic or reflexive? Enjoy yourselves. What do you think? Okay, what about behave yourself? Behave yourself. Be good, right? This is what it means. Or he likes being by himself, all right? All right, so for these three, enjoy yourselves, right? That is a reflexive, right? The plural form of you can say you enjoy yourselves, okay? So the yourselves reflect the plural you. What about behave yourself? It's also a reflexive, right? You're telling someone, you behave yourself, okay? You behave. You be good, okay? The third point that I said, he likes being by himself. He likes being alone. That means it's emphatic. On his own, right? Okay. So that's a good point to take, all right? So look at the bottom table if you get a little confused on which one to do, right? The idioms, they're very important. Now let's go to part 17, okay? Part 17, just down below we have the pumpkin, right? The jack-o'-lantern. All right? So let's do that. I'll do all with you, right? Because they're quite this is the introductory to the reflexive emphatic. So let's do all together, right? So for number 1, the Chinese girl decorated the pumpkin herself. All right? So this is saying that she decorated the pumpkin on her own without help. So it is emphatic. We are reflecting the verb, okay? Decorated, not the subject of the verb. Question number 2. The winner looked very proud of. Okay, so this here is a tricky question, right? So the winner, we don't know if it's a he or she. So we can write himself or herself, right? But in recent years, right, with the rise of neutral genders, right, himself and herself are not so neutral anymore. So this is not in the book, but a nice way to point out is to say themselves, okay? Even if it's just one person. THEMSELVES, okay? Themselves. Alright? So sometimes when we refer to one person and we don't know their gender, or we don't want to say their gender, right? We can say they, okay? Or them. Themselves, alright? If we're not sure of their gender. And this is what? Emphatic or reflexive? Right, it's reflexive, right? Reflexive. They are proud of themselves. Okay? Proud, right? Who's receiving the pride? Still themselves, right? So it's reflexive. All right, number 3, she brought up her children by. So she brought up her children by herself. All right, herself. Is this the emphatic or the reflexive? She brought up the children on her own. Right, this is emphatic, right? We are highlighting the action of bringing up the children. Number 4, the couple wrote to blank when they had spent time apart. Wrote to themselves. Wrote to themselves means I write a letter and send to me, right? So it should be each other, okay? This is a new point here, each other. Now, why is each other under reflexive emphatic pronouns, okay? That's because we have 2 people, right? Or more, right? 2 people or more. And they're both doing the same thing. To who? To themselves? To each other, right? To one another. So this is somewhat related to reflexive emphatic, okay? So each other here means one another. I'll just put another prompt down here. One another. So a good point to make here is, for example, I can say the sentence, Tom and Bill are brothers who took care after each other. What does that mean? Tom and Bill are brothers who took care after each other. That means Tom will take care of Bill, Bill will take care of Tom, right? What if I say themselves instead of each other? Tom and Bill are brothers who took care of themselves. Right? So themselves here it can mean each other as well, or it can mean Tom will take care of Tom, and Bill will take care of Bill, right? And then they are brothers, so we group them. Themselves, all right? So that's a distinction. Just remember that. All right, number 5, the children enjoyed blank when they visited Disneyland. The children, so they enjoyed themselves, okay? THEMSEL. Remember, VES for plural. All right, is this emphatic or reflexive? The children enjoy themselves. All right, this is reflexive. Good. Number 6, Anne was afraid of spiders, so she didn't go into the room by... She didn't go into the room by herself again, right? Now, is this emphatic or reflexive? The ability, try to think of the ability to go into the room. So this is emphatic, right? Go. So we're focusing on the verb. All right, I hope you're getting a hang of it. All right, number 7. Instead of hiring a catering company for the party, she decided to do all the cooking. She decided to do all the cooking. Right, so it's herself. Now focus on the second part of the sentence, right? She decided to do all the cooking by herself. Is it emphatic or reflexive? It's emphatic, okay? So we are emphasizing that she did it on her own, right? Okay, number 8. The boy was asked to behave blank at the wedding. The boy was asked to behave blank at the wedding. Behave who? Behave himself, right? So the boy behaves himself. Who is receiving the action of behaving? Also him, right? Also the same boy. So it's himself. And this should be reflexive, right? Reflexive. Okay, next one. He shouted loudly above the noise to make himself heard, right? So he, himself. To make himself heard. Okay. Is that emphatic or reflexive? He shouted loudly above the noise to make himself heard. It is reflexive, right? Reflexive. Alright, number 10. Number 10. Cats are very clean animals. They are always washing. So cats. Right, so plural, so it's themselves. THEMSELVES, right? Themselves. Reflexive or emphatic? Reflexive, right? We are talking about the cats and they clean themselves, right? Number 11, doctors advise us that we have to exercise regularly in order to keep blank healthy. Advise us. So us is ourselves. VES again for plural, remember? Is this reflexive or emphatic? Are we talking about the action of keeping in order with regular exercise or talking about ourselves? Talking about ourselves, right? So it's reflexive. Advises us. Alright, number 12. The weather is affecting me at the moment. I don't feel blank at all. So this is similar to, which one should it be? The example on reflexive pronouns, right? So what do you think this is? This is reflexive, right? I don't feel myself. That means I am acting very weird. Okay. Number 13, he's very vain and loves looking at himself in the mirror. He's very vain and loves looking at himself in the mirror. Vain means he's very proud of his looks and very confident, maybe too much, right? So this is himself, right? And reflexive. Okay? Alright, so check your answers, please. Alright. Good one, alright. That's good. So for number 18, right? Number 18 down below. It's very easy. So I'll leave that for you to do at home, okay? So this one is a little exercise for you to do at home. So please mark that down. That is homework, right? Look at the example. He left his own family to go and live abroad. So this is where we learn the distinction, right? Between himself and his own, right? Where can we find this? We have one example with each other here, and also try to look over here, right? His own, all right? All right, so that's a good exercise for you to do at home. Don't forget to do it, please. Now let's go to the next part, okay? So page 179, all right? So we're talking about the possessive cases, all right? So 179, we have a table or tables above, right? Same case here. I will be writing down some points here. So please, if you think you need to write it down, please write down the notes as well. All right, so possessive cases, we have two types. Well, actually three types, all right? One is the one with apostrophe. And if you look at the your book or on the whiteboard, we can see the placements of apostrophe and the letter S, right? Apostrophe and the letter S are in two different places, right? One is apostrophe S and one is S apostrophe. Now, what is the difference between them, right? There are difference between them. So we have the singular noun, right? If it's a singular noun, it will become apostrophe S. For example, right, we can say my mother's phone. The phone belongs to my mother, right? My mother's phone. Now, how many mother do you have? Right, just one. So that's just one mother, right? So no S, the S goes after the apostrophe. Okay? What about for the day we celebrate all of our mothers, right? All of our mothers, right? That means a lot of mothers in the world, okay? We'll call that Mother's Day, right? M-O-T-H-E-R-S apostrophe day, okay? Mother's Day. This S apostrophe means a lot of mothers, right? It is their day. The day belongs or is celebrated for all the mothers, right? So plural. All right, a good example they gave as well was the cat's claw, the boy's hat. These are singular, okay? Apostrophe S. Regular plural noun plus apostrophe, okay? So the tourists, okay? That means S apostrophe, okay? More than one. Then we also have the irregular plural noun not ending in S, okay? So if it's not ending in S, for example, women, W-O-M-E-N, right? If we're following the case of Mother's Day, then we should just put an apostrophe, right? Woman Day. Right? That is wrong, okay? That is wrong. Woman Day. Now, you can also say, right, so we'll just put an S here. Nope, this is also wrong because woman with the E is already a plural. So if we put another plural indicator, an S here, women's, okay, that is just grammatically wrong. So we can't put S anywhere before the apostrophe. So the S should come after the apostrophe in irregular nouns, okay? Irregular plural nouns, I should say. So women's, okay? W-O-M-E-N apostrophe S. Alright? Good. And then we have compound noun, alright? So for compound noun, compound means to put different words together, okay? To make up a noun. So mother-in-law, okay? His mother-in-law's car. So it becomes apostrophe S, okay? And then we have apostrophe S also for the last of two or more names to show a common possession, okay? Common possession means people, possession that are shared by two or more people, okay? So the example they put was Anne and Sally's flat, all right? Anne and Sally's flat. So maybe I'll erase this. I hope you've written this down. I'll erase this and put that down. Right, Anne and Sally's flat versus Anne's and Sally's flat. Okay, so Anne and Sally's flat versus Anne's and Sally's. Alright, for example, we can talk about the sizes of their flat. Okay, if you're not familiar with flat is an apartment, okay? Or a house, right, in the building. Alright, so Anne and Sally's flat are 2 bedrooms, right? Has 2 bedrooms, right? This means the flat of Anne and Sally, they are sharing one flat, right? Has 2 bedrooms. That's why I use has. We're talking about one apartment or one flat. In this case, with the apostrophe S in each name, right? Anne's and Sally's flat, right? Has 2 bedrooms. That means how many bedrooms are we talking in total? 4, right? So 2 in Anne's and 2 in Sally's, all right? So that's a distinction between Anne and Sally's and Anne's and Sally's, okay? All right. I hope you wrote all of those notes down. Now let's go to of, okay? These talk about inanimate objects. So objects that cannot move, okay? Inanimate, cannot move. I'll just put a cross. Cannot move, okay? Things that cannot move. In what way, right? How do we form these, right? So we form it by, for example, abstract nouns. So the door of the house, okay? The door of the house, or the abstract is the beauty of the view. All right, the beauty. Can we feel the beauty? Can we touch it? Is it tangible? No, right? It's not tangible. It's not physical. So we can say it is abstract. Okay, and then we have of with possessive case or pronouns when there is a determiner. So determiner is this, any, etc. Right? Before the nouns. Okay, the example is, look at this painting of Picasso's. Okay, so we have look at this painting of, and then we have the name and still have the apostrophe S, right? Look at this painting of Picasso's. Something of somethings or someone's, right? And then we have of plus people in longer phrases, all right? So that's the brother of one of my friends. In this case, we don't have the apostrophe here, right? So the apostrophe is only seen in the first, or really the second point, right? So the second point, and also on the 4th point. Apostrophe S or of to talk about places or organizations. Usually they are put together in a sentence like the example, right? London's attraction, right? Or you can say the attraction of London, okay? So it depends on how you flip them around. So let me write that down and show you. London's attractions. Let me abbreviate that. So ATTRS. And then you can say the, again, abbreviation ATTRS, attractions of London. Right? Here we have the apostrophe. Here we have of. All right? So it depends on what we want to emphasize. Do we want to emphasize London, right? London's attractions, or the attractions itself. The attractions of London, all right? So these two have the same meaning, belonging or possession, okay? So a good note, right, to have is phrases of places will come with apostrophe S. For example, I am going to the butcher's, or at the butcher's, right? I am at the florist's, right? Florists. I am at the milk ladies, right? So these are phrases of places, right? Apostrophe S. And then time and distance as well will have apostrophe S. For example, last week's class we did personal pronouns, right? This week's class we were talking about possessive cases. Alright? Okay, so now let's go and rewrite the following sentences in part 19. Okay, so rewrite the following using the correct possessive form. So there are 2 kinds of possessive, right? Right, so let's try to do that together, okay? So number 1 has been done as an example. Let's go with number 2, the students and the books, right? So what can we do there? What can we write? The students' books. Alright, so before I write down the answer, the full answer, I'll write in the partial, right? The students' books. Look at the first sentence. The students, right? It has an S, right? That means it is a plural noun. So where should I put the apostrophe to refer to the books of the students? Right, we should put it after the S, right? The apostrophe comes after the S, meaning all of the students' books. Number 3, drive 3 hours. It is the amount, right? So it's a 3 hours drive. 3 hours, apostrophe comes after S, right? Drive. There's more than an hour. Number 4, the department store, the staff. Okay? The department store, the staff, right? So this is, what are we talking about here? We're talking about the department store, right? So this is an inanimate object. So a good way to look at this is the second point, right? The second point of. So this should be the staff of the department store. So the staff of the, I'll just abbreviate it, okay? DPT, department store. The staff of the department store, right? Or you can say this is also part 3, right? Of plus people, but it's usually more of part 2 of the of. All right, number 5. Living, the cost, right? So this is a very common phrase we hear. Living's cost, right? Not really. So it should be the cost of living. That means how much it is to be alive, right? Number 6. Some friends, my brother. These are some friends, my brother. These are my brother's some friends, right? So it doesn't work that way. So we can say these are some friends of my brother's. Okay. Brothers. There is an RS, right? And then the apostrophe comes in between R and S. Again, this is second part of, okay? Inanimate things. Number 7, bread the price. Again, similar as living the cost, right? So the price of bread, not bread's the price, okay? We can say bread's price, the bread's price, but not bread's the price. So the price of bread. Okay? Good. Alright, number 8, the baby, the pram. Pram is the baby's, what do we call it here in Hong Kong? The trolley, I think, right? Or the thing that you put the baby in to push, right? Or to bring it around. We call that a pram, okay? So the baby's pram, right? We can't say the pram of the baby, right? So it's the baby's pram. Again, we do this why? For brevity, right? To make it short, but also concise. Okay, number 9, right? This is the last one we'll do together in class. For number 10 to 19, please go home and do it yourselves, right? This is a good practice for you. So John and Paul, the wives. Oh, so this is similar to Anne and Sally, right? John and Paul, the wives. So you can say John and Paul's wives, right? Sorry, what is it again? John, right? John. So John and Paul, right? And then we have wives. How do we do that? How do we make it seem like each of them, right? Each of them has a wife. So we will put an apostrophe after every name and then S that follows, right? Apostrophe S. So John's and Paul's wives, okay? So the wives here means one wife, or Paul has one wife and John has one wife, right? John's and Paul's wives. So if we say John and Paul's wives, right? That means these two, they might share multiple wives, right? That is not the case. Or you can also say, right? You can flip it around and say the wives of John and Paul, right? But we put an apostrophe S here, John's and Paul's, okay? Alright? So this is in contrast to number 13, okay? So when you're doing number 13, try to look at the contrast from here and from the Anne and Sally's example in the possessive table box, alright? Alright, so now let's go and do part 20, okay? Part 20. Complete the following sentence, okay? So part 20, just below. Alright, with the words in bold, okay? So the first one has been done for us. We need the word of, right? So when we know that the word is of, we need to switch or swap the sentence. For number 2, the gallery has just brought a painting by Monet. M-O-N-E-T, that's Monet, okay? Not Monet. So the gallery has just been, or has just bought. We need to use one, right? So a painting, so it's one of Monet's. One of Monet's painting, alright? So that means the gallery has bought one painting of Monet's. One of Monet's paintings, okay? And paintings is S, right? Because we're talking about all the paintings that Monet has. And we've only bought one. Number 3, I saw a play by Shakespeare at the Globe. Okay, so I saw, again, similar, right? One of Shakespeare's play. One of Shakespeare's play. All right. Alright, good. Number 4. It takes half an hour to walk into town. It is blank into town. Half an hour to walk. So this is similar with number 3 of part 19. 3 hours drive. So we can change half an hour to walk to it is a half hour. Half hour what? Walk. So half hour, we put half an hour in between is hyphen, right? So hyphenated. This becomes an adjective. A half hour walk. Number 5, this necklace belonged to my mother-in-law, so was. So this, we're referring to the necklace, so this was my mother-in-law's necklace. This one's very easy, right? This was my mother-in-law. We have hyphens there. Mother hyphen in hyphen law. Apostrophe S, right? This was my mother-in-law's. Alright, last one for this page, right? In France, the president is elected every 5 years. So we need to use of. So the something every 5 years. The what? The president, right? The president of France, okay, is elected. Now, when we read newspapers, this is we won't really see this way of writing, right? The president of France. Instead, we will say the French president. All right? But for the purpose of learning the possessive case of, this is how we will write it down. President of France, whereas in real life we will say the French president, right? Okay, so that's the answer for part 20, alright? So possessive case. Remember, you have to do part 19, the remaining work, alright? That will be done as homework. Now let's quickly go through page 180, okay? 180. So there and it structure, okay? So these are again the same thing, right? The same as the possessive, right? There and it. Okay? So let's go through it together very quickly. There and it. For there we have there plus be. Now, be is the ultimate form, right? Be can be changed into are, is, was, were, okay? Alright, so for this point here, we can say that it is used for something mentioned for the first time, or to say that someone or something exists. Alright, so for the first time, or just to declare that this is something here, okay? So there are some photos on your desk. Alright, there are some photos for you on your desk just to say that there are there, right? And it can also mean that these photos are the first time you've mentioned them. Right, there are some. Alright, number 2, part 2, we have a personal pronoun plus be. Again, remember, be means is, am, are, right? Were, was, okay? And then we can also use other verbs at times. So, there is someone at the door for you, or he wants to see you. Alright? This gives detail about something or someone that is already mentioned, okay? Already mentioned. Alright, next one. Here, part 3. We have, part 3, it plus be. Again, be is, am, are, was, were. There's someone outside. So this is from number 1, right? The second part of the sentence is, it is your landlord. Right? It is used for identification. It is mine. It is yours. It is a pencil, right? To say identities. Alright, second last one was it, be, and then we have the to infinitive, alright? Sometimes that to infinitive can be changed by a that clause. So, it is freezing today, isn't it? It appears, right? So, appears. We can change be to a different verb. So it appears that, right? It appears that it is now snowing outside. That's why it's cold, right? Or it seems that, right? There is a problem with the machine. Okay? Alright, and then for the general term, we can use this as general term it, right? It has been, it is, right? Just it, but it is not, right? General, just for the whole encompassing, right? It. Alright, so now let's go through the questions one by one, alright? So for question number 1, we have it's, right, written down, and also the answer is it, okay? It has been snowing all night. What about number 2? Number 2, blanks, apostrophe S, a policeman at the door. It's a policeman at the door, right? Are we mentioning this again? This is the first time we're saying or seeing the policeman, right? So it should be, there is. So there's an apostrophe S there. It's the first one, right? There is a policeman at the door. Now that we've mentioned there's a policeman, blank seems that the neighbor has complained about the noise. What should we write down there? Is it there seems that? So we have the that clause, right? That clause will be matched with it, right? It seems that, alright? Number 3, blank apostrophe S, a holiday tomorrow, so no one has to go to work. What are we doing here? A holiday tomorrow, no one needs to go to work. This is declaring, right? Declaring. So what should that be? It, right? So it is. So it's also it's. It's a holiday. Right? It's a holiday. Okay, so that is also used as identification. We can say we're identifying the day tomorrow. Alright? Number 5, let's go by taxi to the cinema. Blank, much too far to walk. There's much too far to walk. It's much too far to walk. It, right? So it here refers to the distance, right? Or the cinema, the distance between you and I from the cinema. So it is much too far to walk. Alright? What about number 6? This report you've shown to me is confusing. Blank appears to be a mistake in it. Right? Blank appears to be. Alright? It appears to be or there appears to be? There appears to be, right? We are just mentioning this for the first time. Mentioning for the first time. All right, number 7. Blank, are many changes to be made in this report? Blank, are many changes to be made? It are many changes? There are, okay? So in this case, right? Same thing as number 6, right? First time we're mentioning this. And also you can try to look at the verb, right? The verb. Are, okay? So plural, so there are. Number 8, okay? Blank is my privilege to introduce our distinguished guest speaker. So this one is, right? So what do you think? There is my privilege. It is my privilege. Right, it is my privilege. Again, we are identifying, right? Introducing, giving the identity of something. Okay, number 9. It's or there's nothing much on TV tonight. So these are 2 answers, right? It's or there's nothing much. There is nothing much, right? And then for the second part, we have 2 questions here. It's a pity we don't have a regular DVD player, or there's a pity. We're talking about the situation, right? So it's also an expression. So it should be, it is a pity, right? It's terrible that, it's a pity that. We can't say there's a pity that, right? Lastly, blank is a shame you weren't able to come to the party. There is a shame, it is a shame. Again, expression, right? So it's, it is a shame. And then another answer here, right? So these are together, these are together. Blank were lots of people there. It were lots of people there, or there were lots of people there. Very simple, right? There were. Okay? Alright. Good. So now let's go through number 22. Okay, so part 22. I think we're running out of time and we haven't done 181. Okay, so I'll just give you the introduction for this one and we'll stop at number 5. Okay, we'll stop it here and then onwards is another part of your homework, right? Okay, so for part 22, number 2, she said I dislike French films and so does Jim. So Jim and this girl, right, they both do not like. We have to use neither. So she said that neither, okay? She said that neither, and then the person comes, right? The people come, or the nouns. So neither who? Neither she, right? Neither, right? So we have to use nor. Neither she nor, who else? Jim, right? And then we're talking about hypothetical or actual situation. Right, so it should be liked. Okay? Neither she nor Jim liked French films. Alright, number 3, if you decorate the house on your own, it will be cheaper. Now, on your own, okay, so this is using the either reflexive or emphatic pronoun. So this is a good practice for you. If you blank, it will be cheaper. We have to use yourself. So, what is the noun, the verb here? If you decorate, right? Decorate the house. And then, how do we write that down? If you decorate, sorry, there's an E there. If you decorate the house yourself, right? It's set, and then the rest of the sentence. Now for yourself, you can write down by, okay? So optional. If you decorate the house by yourself or yourself, it's alright. Number 4, try to watch your behavior at the wedding reception. So watch your behavior means behave yourself, right? So, oops. Sorry, number 4. Let's go to number 4 first. I take 20 minutes to drive to work every morning, okay? I take 20 minutes to drive every morning. So this is about the time, right? 20 minutes to drive. So we remember we can use a hyphen to make that an adjective. So how do we write that down? It's 20 minutes to drive becomes 20 hyphenated minute, right? It's a 20 minute to drive It's a 20-minute drive, okay? Now, 20-minute, right? This is more than 1 minute, so we'll put an S here. 20 minutes drive, all right? Where should we put the apostrophe? Before S or after S? After, right? Plural, minutes. All right, let's go to the next one, number 5. So this is about behaving yourself, right? So try, behave yourself at the wedding. We need to put something in between. Try, preposition, right? Try to behave yourself. Okay? Try to behave yourself. Alright? So this is actually pretty good, right? This is a good exercise. This is encompassing all that we've learned today. So possessive cases, there and it, and reflexive emphatic pronouns, okay? So go home and finish these until number 13, right? It's not a lot to do. Okay. Alright, so let's go to the last part, okay? Again, we're running quite below or out of time, so I'll just do parts of that with you. So 181, right? 181, part 20, is it 20? 23, alright? So just change the words in the blue box into the correct forms. So let's do 3 together, okay? And then you'll have 4 to 10 by yourselves. All right. So for number 1, right? You've seen news reports about people who need assistance after a nature disaster. Nature disaster, right? That sounds a bit wrong. So we have to change nature to nature. What do you think? Natural, right? Natural disasters, okay? Maybe you've walked past home people, right? So people without home, right? Usually after natural disasters, people are without home. So what do we call the people without home, right? So we have the word home. What affix do we have to put? What affix do we have to put? Less, okay? Homeless. That means without home, okay? So homeless people. Or perhaps you've watched TV programs about how lonely and isolate older people can get. Isolate, right? That means alone or separated from. So lonely or isolated, okay? Isolated, all right? Lonely or isolated. Okay. Let's try one more together. Okay, so what can you do about any of these things, right? If you see people who are homeless and isolated. If you can't afford to make a donate, right? Donate is a verb, right? We have to make it into a noun, right? We have many words, right, with verb to noun formation. So donate, all right? What do you think? Donation, okay? T-I-O-N, or actually it's just I-O-N, okay? So these are the affixes, okay? The changes, right? So pay attention to these. If you get confused, I think we have done this in a few previous pages, right? Let me check for you. I think it should be page 144, something like that, right? Yeah, 144, right? So check that out, right? This should be there. Affixes, okay? Word formation. All right, so again, please go home and finish, right? Page 180, right? This is the most important exercise here, part 22, from number 6 to number 13. This one is encompassing all of what we've learned today, so please remember to do this, okay? And then, of course, remember the reflexive emphatic pronoun and how they are different from each other, okay? If you do get confused, please look at the notes with the stars, all right? The notes with the stars. These are the ones with the bigger examples, and it will tell you what to find for and how to find their differences, okay? So next week we will continue a little bit further with these topics, all right? So I want you to finish all your homework and do a little bit of revision, and we'll try to make it smoother next week, all right? So again, please finish your homework. This is our FCE class, and I hope to see you next week. Bye-bye.